Aloha and welcome. In this video, we're going to be talking about developing programs incrementally. So when you're building large programs, it's best if you try to take the large problem and break it down into smaller parts and then solve them part by part. This is called also called iterative programming. Some people call it incremental programming. The idea is that as you tackle the problem, you're going to take it piece by piece. You're going to build up, small bits of functionality as you go. So there are different advantages to doing this. One of the biggest advantages is when it comes to debugging. When you try to write a program and you try to write out the entire thing at once, when you run it, you really start to pray that you've got it working right, because very few people will write any code of much size without getting some type of syntax error or logic errors in there. So it really is helpful if you take it, small bits by bits, and you try to you try to make one little section, and after you've got that section pretty much hammered out, you go and you run it and you test what you can out of that. And you'll have errors most probably, but it'll be easier to find those errors. They're not going to be spread across your entire code base. You can find it in that little section that you just made. As programs get larger, that gets harder to do if you're trying to write it in one pass. If you have a large program, it's going to be a bit more difficult to locate the areas that you've had errors. So it's best if you take it small piece by piece and build up your functionality. So in the book, they use a phone number program. They do it in 4 different iterations. The first iteration, they're simply reading in the phone number and they're printing out each character. The second iteration, they're echoing the numbers out, and they've got a fix me section in there to handle the letters later. So iteration 3, it handles the hyphens and the first 3 letters. Then iteration 4, it's going to handle the rest of the letters and the unexpected characters. In other words, if somebody puts junk characters in, what are you going to do? How are you going to handle those unexpected situations? So that's how you incrementally develop the software. You get a little bit working, then you add a little bit more functionality, and you add a little bit more functionality. So the book didn't talk about this, but when you get out into the real world, you're going to come across different styles of programming. And there's something called agile programming. And agile programming is kind of like this in that it builds out functionality in units of time, often 2 weeks, they're called sprints. So you'll have a sprint of maybe 2 weeks or so. But the idea is that you take a bit of the code and you try to implement a little bit more in each of your sprints. So you're iteratively, making more and more of your code and building out functionality and features to get to that final end product that you're working towards. So another thing that we talk about in here is most editors will pay attention to the fix me comment and actually highlight it in a different style of text. So I will show you my screen really quickly to show you what VS Code does. VS Code, let's see here. In VS Code, you can see that we have fix me in a comment section, and it actually colors it to blue. So you'll see this from, it's probably different in different editors like Atom or Sublime or different things like that. But it will, most browsers do try to handle that in a different way. This just draws your eyes to it, because in VS Code, using the different type of stylizers I'm using, comments are green. But if you want to have like a fix me or come back later to kind of thing, you can have it, fix me defaults to blue, but you can probably customize this as well in your settings. So keep all this in mind. Essentially, we like to develop programs incrementally. It helps you when you're debugging, and it also just helps you break up large projects into smaller chunks that you can handle well. And also, if you think about it, if you take a large project and you break it up into different chunks, you can hand off different chunks to different people and work on it independently. So anyhow, that's it for the lesson. I'll see you in the next one.